All right, Houston Astros. They're a good baseball team. Can we all agree on that? Astros, good at baseball?
Yeah.
All they do, though, is get disrespected. I saw this last week. The MLB.com was putting together their top 10 starting pitching duos. Guess what the Houston – well, first off, guess who the Astros' best starting duo is? Of what's remaining.
Framber and Cristian Javier.
Framber and Cristian Javier is the answer. Framber and Cristian Javier, the answer that MLB.com said. Now, you could make the case for some others. I don't think we would on this show.
Some people would throw Lance in there.
Yeah, some people would throw Lance in there. Absolutely. Some people might say Lance is this duo. But anyways, of the top duos in Major League Baseball, according to MLB.com, that duo comes in 10th. Framber Valdez and Cristian Javier are 10th of the best duos in baseball, according to MLB.com, and their author, David Adler, who put this together. Keep in mind that Framber Valdez finished 5th in American League Cy Young voting, and Cristian Javier had a better season with not the volume, but like the ERA, the WHIP, strikeouts 9, all of that stuff, than Framber Valdez had. And oh yeah, Cristian Javier was a big piece in the first no-hitter since Don Larson in a World Series game. Yet they're 10th. They're behind the likes of the top of this list, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, which, I mean, that might be the best on the senior circuit, right?
I was going to say, that wins the AARP vote. Yep.
Yeah, if you're looking at the over 40-year-old club, that's certainly the top of the list. Shane McClanahan and Tyler Glasnow. Formidable bunch, no doubt about it. Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff of the Milwaukee Brewers. Yeah. Max Fried, Spencer Strider of the Braves. That's pretty good. Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler's 5th. Who Framber Valdez and Cristian Javier just pitched circles around. Yeah,
no doubt. Look, and even Milwaukee, we know there's going to be a fire sale coming again. Though they have 3 stud starting pitchers, if not 4, but 3 of them, their contracts are coming up. There's a chance that duo doesn't stay together, maybe even before the start of the regular season, but you could break that up in a heartbeat too. But yeah, I mean, look, everybody can do this speculating right now and keep throwing all this stuff up there. I would rather have this list be who's got the best rotation in baseball. I can make an argument for the Braves from top to bottom. There's a few teams in the discussion, but if you would disrespect the Astros and put them 10th in that one, I would laugh in your face. I understand the name recognition and things like that, but you know what? Glasnow, we don't know what he's going to be coming off of surgery.
No, we don't. There's no guarantee of what he's going to be. At least Framber and Javier got to the finish line pretty healthy, right? Still pitching very well. Ultimately, I don't really care a whole lot about this. Like, I don't care where the Astros are penciled in and projected to be, or what are the top duos in all of Major League Baseball. What are the rotations? Why? Because it's not tangible. Like, they're going to go out there and pitch, right? They're going to go out there and play 162 games. The Astros are going to put a body of work together in 2023 to see where they stack up, whether it's the top 2 pitchers of a rotation, whether it's the best offense, whether it's the best team. The biggest takeaway that I take from this actually isn't so much about like Framber and Javier being 10th. It's more about how what the Astros have in their rotation is kind of slept on. Like, it's not really appreciated, I think, nationally. Here locally, we know how good the pitching staff is, even without Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander was the biggest name, so when he leaves, nationally people think that the Astros pitching staff is going to take a dip. And look, Verlander had a 1.75 ERA in the regular season, so do I think that the Astros rotation is going to be better ERA-wise in 2023 than they were in 2022? Probably not. But what the Astros have left isn't buzz, isn't like pizzazz, isn't cachet, isn't clout. It's more production. Like, Framber Valdez isn't going to win popularity contests. Right. Cristian Javier is not going to win any popularity contests. The Houston Astros in general, probably because they're the Houston Astros, are not going to win popularity contests.
Well, look what Framber did all last year and no one was talking about it. They found every other pitching story to talk about before they realized the quality starts that he was putting together and the kind of names he was passing on his way to putting together the season that he did. And at the end of the year, there were people scratching their head going, oh, wow, really? He did all that? Just like Cristian Javier. We look at the numbers, and obviously we look at the team every day, but you're right. I mean, if you didn't, evidently, though, you're not a real baseball fan because you didn't watch the playoffs. If you just watched the playoffs and you knew the Astros were in the playoffs, and when they were in the playoffs, they have to use pitchers, and you saw the pitchers they used, you could figure out their starting pitching is pretty good.
Yeah. So the fact that they're 10th, whatever. I think that Framber Valdez and Cristian Javier are going to put a body of work together this season if they stay healthy, where they jump up on that list, which leads to the question, where do you think the Astros should be on this list? We just mentioned the top half of them. The 6th team on this list, Manoah and Gausman of the Blue Jays, Yu Darvish, Blake Snell of the Padres. They left out Joe Musgrove, by the way. Clayton Kershaw, Julio Urias for the Dodgers, Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez what do we call him? Nestor the Molester
You do.
for the Yankees. I was quoting the dude for Detroit that said that. I wasn't proclaimed by Branham. Where do you think that Framber and Cristian Javier should be on this list if we were ranking them with what we know from a Houston Astro perspective?
I think they'd be in the top 5. And I think that you can poke holes in just about everybody else. For as much as you want to give kudos to Garrett Cole, you can say that there are times that he gets, home run happy when he gets
Well,
hit.
that was because of the Goldilocks balls.
Well, of course. But then you could also say Nestor, for what he's been his whole career, he found it a little bit with the Yankees, but he doesn't have that fear that is, that so many teams know that when certain people are on the mound that you're like, ooh, it's going to be a tough day. The Randy Johnson-itis that John Kruk and others would experience. I think they'd be in the top 5. I think with the numbers and the way that they did it sustained for the entire season a year ago, and then thinking about a full season with Javier as a starter, I think there's no reason why it can't even get better. But just kind of like on the cautionary thought of this, I would say top 5, but I understand it. You would put them behind Verlander and Scherzer on experience.
I wouldn't. And I'm not going to go as far to say as I would have Framber and Javier number 1. I'm not sure I wouldn't have them top 3, though. Do I think that Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander are a better duo than Framber and Cristian Javier? I don't think they will be next year. I really don't. I don't think Justin Verlander is going to have the season.
Story, right.
Because you expect the year to, go backwards, a year older. For 40-year-olds, I think they're going to take a step back. Shane McClanahan and Glasnow, both guys have kind of been a little bit injury happy in the past. Burns and Woodruff, that's a good one too. I'm not sure I'm going to jump
really
Framber and Javier there. I don't even think I would jump Javier and Framber over Max Fried and Spencer Strider. I think those are my top 3. And because I have those in the top, they're not sexy. I understand that. They're not Scherzer. They're not Verlander. But I think I'd go Milwaukee, Atlanta, Houston.
I think, and you could that's reasonable. And I think that, look, on the Mets standpoint of things, Scherzer's starting to get more dinged up. He dealt more than half the season with abdominal core issues. He's older, and so you already know that. Verlander, I believe you're going to get more of what you saw in the playoffs than what you got when he was having the season that he had last year in a 6-man rotation and being handled with kid gloves a whole lot to make sure that he was okay, and I think he got gassed. And I think that at a certain point, everybody hits a wall, and not everybody can be Tom Brady like Verlander wants to be. I think Verlander, you're going to see more be closer to what he was doing when he was in the playoffs with the Astros than the regular season. I think the 2 horses in Milwaukee are really good. I think the 2 guys for the Braves, I think that might be, those are 2 of the best young pitchers in baseball. So I think that, like I said, in the top 5 for now is fine because let's be honest, this is just trying to fill time in the offseason when the hot stove has cooled down a little bit as people are waiting for the next shoe to fall in terms of free agency and signings and things like that.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good banter, good bar talk. It's nice to have a cold beer and say who's the best duo in baseball.
I understand, but I would rather have one to say who are the best rotations in baseball.
Sure, I think that's better than having who's the top duo. Yeah. And I think the reason they're having the top duo is because Verlander just signed with the Mets. So now it's fun to talk about Scherzer, Verlander, and they also signed the dude from Japan too.
They sure did.
The Mets
$75 million they gave up.
They said that the Mets after payroll or after tax payroll now is going to be north of $400 million. So, like, if you're a believer in spending big money to buy a championship is the way to go about it, then the Mets should be winning like 2 of the next 5 titles.
The Mets and the Padres are just spending money left and right.
But at least the Padres' money is like kicking the can down the road. At least the Padres are kind of borrowing money from the future to now. Whereas the Mets, the Padres are going to be under the competitive balance tax unless they have another big signing or 2. Whereas the Mets have gone so far above the competitive balance tax that the tax that they're now going to have to pay, they're going to be spending north of $400 million this year. The luxury tax is $233. The Mets are going to be paying over $400 million this year.
Ridiculous.